Typhoon Wipha hits southern China. Floods and warnings. Imagine entire cities paralyzed by nature's fury overnight. That's the horrific reality Typhoon Wipha unleashed across southern China. While the storm may have weakened, its aftermath continues to wreak havoc with terrifying new threats emerging. Southern China endured relentless downpours on Monday, sparking urgent alerts for flash floods and landslides across Guangdong province. This comes just one day after Typhoon Wipha battered Hong Kong with destructive force. Coastal cities like Yangjiang, Zhanjiang, and Maoming bore the brunt of torrential rainfall following the storm's Sunday landfall. Hong Kong saw particularly brutal impacts: uprooted trees, collapsed scaffolding, grounded flights, and nearly 280 people forced into emergency shelters as the typhoon passed. Though downgraded to a tropical storm upon hitting mainland China, Wipha continues its dangerous path along Guangdong's coastline toward Vietnam. Forecasters warn that until Tuesday morning, excessive rainfall will pound coastal regions including Guangdong, Guangxi, Hainan, and Fujian, elevating risks of catastrophic flash flooding, deadly landslides, and severe wind damage. But here's the frightening twist. Despite the widespread destruction, state media reported many areas are recovering surprisingly quickly from the onslaught. The typhoon triggered alarming flooding in 20 rivers nationwide, exceeding official warning levels according to Water Ministry reports. Authorities initially imposed strict traffic controls on key expressways linking Shenzhen and Zhuhai to Hong Kong, along with port restrictions. However, these measures were lifted by Sunday night as disrupted train services gradually resumed operations throughout Monday. Now the critical question emerges: are communities truly out of danger? Officials urgently advise residents to remain on high alert for secondary disasters like mudslides in the storm's wake. Wipha is expected to intensify over the Gulf of Tonkin before slamming into Vietnam's northern coast early Tuesday. Vietnamese authorities have already declared a coastal emergency, anticipating life-threatening flooding and landslides. The Prime Minister issued urgent evacuation orders for flood-prone zones, recalling all boats, stockpiling food and rescue gear, and fortifying communication networks. Dozens of flights were canceled preemptively as the nation braces for impact. Here's the controversial part. With climate experts warning that such intense storms are becoming more frequent, are coastal nations doing enough to prepare? Do you think evacuation protocols in vulnerable regions like these are truly effective? Share your experiences and opinions below. Have you witnessed disaster preparedness that succeeded or failed when it mattered most? Typhoon Wipha devastates Hong Kong. Rains, winds, and chaos before hitting Guangdong. The relentless rains from Typhoon Wipha wreaked havoc in Hong Kong on Sunday as the storm moved southward before making landfall along the coast of Guangdong province in China. This severe weather event resulted in fallen trees and scattered scaffolding, prompting over 200 individuals to seek shelter in temporary accommodations. By 7:45 p.m., Hong Kong's meteorological authorities had downgraded the typhoon warning to a number 3 strong wind signal. Earlier, at approximately 4 p.m., they had reduced the typhoon signal from the maximum level of 10 to 8, a status that had been in effect for nearly 7 hours. Eastern District Councillor Kenny Yuan commented on the situation, stating, "In comparison to previous typhoons such as Mangkhut and Hato, which caused significantly more extensive damage, the effects this time were mostly limited to fallen trees and collapsed scaffolding." He made this remark while standing next to a pile of bamboo scaffolding that had collapsed from a residential building undergoing renovations in North Point, near the harbor, and had been blown onto the roadway. As the storm passed through Hong Kong, the city experienced over 110 millimeters, 4 inches, of rainfall within just 3 hours, with wind gusts reaching up to 167 kilometers per hour, 103 miles per hour, at certain points. The majority of the rainfall was concentrated in the northern areas adjacent to the mainland, according to the city's observatory. In an official statement, the government reported that 26 individuals required medical attention at public hospitals during the typhoon, while 253 people sought refuge in shelters. Additionally, there were reports of 471 fallen trees across the city. Wipha continued its westward trajectory, making landfall at approximately 5:50 p.m. in Taishan City, Guangdong, before weakening into a severe tropical storm, as reported by China's state-run CCTV. In Macau, the neighboring region known as the world's largest gambling hub, authorities also downgraded the typhoon signal from 10 to 8, warning residents of potential flooding in the inner harbor area and advising them to take precautions, as reported by public broadcaster TDM. The Hong Kong Airport Authority announced that around 80,000 travelers were affected by the rescheduling of 400 flights due to the typhoon's impact. Cathay Pacific Airways canceled all flights at Hong Kong Airport between 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Sunday, waiving ticket change fees and facilitating rebooking for passengers. Furthermore, most public transportation services in Hong Kong were suspended, including ferry services, due to the high sea swells caused by the storm. But here's where it gets controversial. Some might argue that the city's preparedness for such storms is still lacking, despite the relatively minor damage this time. What do you think? Are we doing enough to protect our communities from the increasing frequency of severe weather events? Share your thoughts in the comments.